What is up, guys? How's it going today? My name is SarahTube, and today I'm going to be talking about how the Bone Whip will be affecting the OSRS economy and what you can expect to happen to the market as this whip is released. Now, as we know of right now, this whip is not guaranteed to come out yet, but it will be getting pulled next week, so I think we should keep our eye out for this. Anyway, if you guys do enjoy the video, leave a like and stick around to the end to figure out my own opinion on this update and how I personally will be investing. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about the stats of this whip. Now, currently, the Bone Whip is going to give a +4 slash bonus and a +1 strength bonus, but will be non-degradable, and how you get this whip is you just attach a Hydra Tail to an Abyssal Whip, and these stats are compared to a +8 slash bonus and a +4 strength bonus for a Tentacle Whip, but remember, those actually do degrade, and the new Bone Whip, again, does not. Now, this is going to make the Bone Whip the best in-slot, non-degradable whip that you can get, and while this might not seem like a big deal and the stats aren't a huge difference, and I would agree with that, there really isn't a huge difference in stats, but if you're an endgame player, you're going to want this whip because it's going to make you better in the long run, and if it doesn't degrade, you might as well have it. Now, this is going to create a lot of demand right off the bat for this item, so of course, if this does pass, I would expect the Hydra Tail to go up probably between 2 and 3 mil compared to its current price right now. Right now, it's sitting at about 2.2 mil, and I bet it will move to about 6 or 7 mil if this update does pass. Another important thing to note economically about this update, if it does pass, is it will make the Abyssal Whip and the Hydra Tail complementary items. Now, if you do not know what that is, basically what it means is when the price of one of these items goes up, the price of the other item will go up as well. So for example, if demand for Abyssal Whips goes up, demand for Hydra Tails will go up as well, because more players are going to want the Bone Whip instead of just the classic Abyssal Whip. It is also important to note that this is a non-degradable item, so when the Hydra Tail is attached to the whip, it is not ever going to break unless you die in PvP, and then the Hydra Tail will be lost. So basically, what that means is, as more Hydra Tails come into the game and get used up, more people will have Bone Whips, and the demand for the Hydra Tail is going to decrease. The only time it will go back up in demand is if we do have more players coming into the game, so usually this does happen around spring, summertime, when more people are starting to log on for this summer. So I pulled up a couple of the items on GE Tracker, and just so we can take a look and kind of analyze the price movements that these items will likely go through. The first item we're looking at is the Abyssal Whip here, and recently it has actually been going up in price just slightly, although on the year graph it doesn't actually look like that. And as we can see right here, it's about to hit a double bottom for about the past quarter, or a little bit over a quarter it looks like, and usually when an item is going to hit double bottom, it goes back up in price. Now, if we hit the double bottom here, as you can see, we've got it at 2.73 and about 2.78 mil. Now, if the whip goes through with this update, obviously demand for the whip is going to increase and demand for the Hydra Tail is going to increase, so we will definitely see a price movement upwards with the whip. I would expect it to reach about 3.1 to 3.2 mil in the first 2 days or so, or even 1 day of this update, so that is just something to keep in mind. It is a potential moneymaker if you are looking to invest, but again, this is just my analysis. Do not take my word for it. Do your own investment, look at it yourself, and decide if it's actually worth it for you to take that risk. Moving on to the Hydra Tail, ever since the new content came out, it has kind of been in a weird spot. People don't know exactly the price of it. Now, it currently alks for about 900k, which is a very high alk price, but recently it has moved up to about 3 mil and then dropped back down to about 2.2, 2.3, where it is residing right now. If this update goes through, obviously demand for the Hydra Tail is going to go up quite a lot, and we can expect to see, I would think, like a 2 to 3 mil price increase, so we might see Hydra Tails at 4 to 7 mil range. I'm personally gonna guess it's gonna hit 6 mil, but that again is up to you. This is only a guess. I have flipped a lot. I do know a lot of merching stuff, but at the same time, I'm not completely convinced on this one. This is more speculative than the whip. So the last item is the Kraken Tentacle. Now, I think the Kraken Tentacle and the Hydra Tail are, like, in the long run, going to have very similar price movements. The Hydra Tail, eventually, their demand will kind of slow down a lot because all the people who would want a Bone Whip would have gotten it by now, especially the higher level players and probably the mid-level players as well, because I don't think it's going to be ridiculously expensive. But as you can see, over time, the Kraken Tentacle has decreased in price, especially the last 3 quarters to about a year's time. And I can expect the Hydra Tail to go in a very similar movement, as like I said, a lot of people will be picking up Hydra Tails, and since this item does not degrade, and you basically just get a free stat upgrade for your whip, that just means they're not going to need to buy any more Hydra Tails, and the only increase in demand that will happen in that regard is if new players join the game and pick up whips themselves and want to upgrade them. Now, while I personally don't think this update will go through, I would actually like to see this update pass, and here's why. If this update does pass, it will provide this new content. It will kind of increase the longevity of it. So, for example, with all these Hydra Tails coming into the game, being used for the Abyssal Whips, then people will still do these new Alchemetal Hydras. Guys, do you know how to say that? Because I don't know, but I think that's how you say it. But there will be a use, and people will be more willing to go to those bosses, and the content will remain relevant for a little bit longer. On top of this, it's a new weapon. It does kind of slightly encourage power creep in the game, but it's only a +1 strength and a +4 slash bonus. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. To me, it's worth it to kind of stimulate the economy in a positive way and kind of revitalize the whip a bit more and get people to kind of buy and go farm whips and farm these Hydra Tails and kind of bring back a marketplace to this item. That's personally why I would like to see this update. I think it's really not that big of a deal. The power creep is not too severe, and it's a new weapon, and it's going to revitalize the economy and keep the new content relevant for a little bit longer. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like. It really does help me out a lot. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and check out our Discord, link in the description below. I do a lot of flipping content and like talking about my specific flips in there, so if you're a new flipper, an experienced flipper, it is a great place to continue to pick up tips or even help other new players. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think is going to happen with this content and if you actually want this to pass or not.